Okay, so round three has been completed, and we see here as far as net profits per team, teams have greatly improved the net profits. We have a new leader. Auto Evolution is number one in net profits. So we have a number of teams above 80 million in net profits. So all these teams are above 80 million, and some of these teams are above 100 million of total net profits. So this is sort of where you want to be, above 80 million, hopefully above 100 million. So some teams are really kicking it up a notch when it comes to profits. When it comes to points, most teams did well in points. We had only 2 teams lose points. And when I went to investigate why they lost points, it's because they let their profit margins decline. So if your profit margins go down and your total profits go down, your points will go down because it affects a lot of variables, a lot of financial variables. So you can't ever let your profit margins or your profits go down. You can let your sales go down. I mean, that's not great, but it won't hurt you as much as letting your profits go down. So make sure, and when the market's growing as fast as they are in this game, you should be able to easily increase your sales and profits every round. So we have a new leader in points this round at 700 points, and this is a team coming off of about 400 points last round and getting up to 700 points this round. And as we move forward, the competition starts getting tougher as people are learning what to do and they make the right moves, and people start gravitating more towards this 400 point average. So you'll see here most teams are easily at or above that 400 point average. And this is, why I do have that minimum score set on the game. And it's really just making, grading you at a C or average level to get the full points for the simulation. So I'm not really setting the bar very high. And if you look at total points, most teams are pretty close to getting the full points they need to make, after 3 rounds, they're more than 60 to 70% of the way of the total points they need to get the full score in this game. We still have the same company in first place in stock price, and the same companies in second and third place, and fourth place in stock price. We have a new 5th place in stock price here, JR Motors. As far as sales per team, we still continue to have our number 1 sales. We have a new number 2 in sales, Green Car, followed by Lee Marin Motors. So these are pretty big sales. Now we have a team down here, this team here, XYZ Motors, that you can't really see, they're kind of mixed in here, but they had the biggest increase in sales for the quarter, which is great. And as far as earnings per share, we still have a new number 2 this round, which was they were number 2 last round, and now we have a new number 3, Caro Cars. And a new number 4, JR Motors, which had this is the company that was able to greatly improve sales and profits in the previous round and moved up quite nicely. So again, for the 3rd time and the last time, I'm going to run you through what you should have done in round 3 to get, a decent amount of points. So when you're in the new round, of course, you check your overview and you see where have I done? Where am I leaving off? So here are my profit margins at 53%. So I want to be higher than 53. I want to shoot for 58%. And so I got my profit margins were up. My return on some of my return on investment, return on equity was a little bit lower based on the dynamics of the round. And of course, my total asset turnover and return on assets were negative because it was a big round for buying assets. And that really can pull back on your return on assets and total asset turnover when you take on a huge amount of assets, which is very common for a growing company in the 3rd year of the company to buy a lot of assets and have a little slowdown there. My forecasts were pretty accurate except for the economy class car, and I had a operational investments and a cash surplus, which gave me 486 points. So I check out my assessments, I review the charts for myself and other teams. I would look at the industry to see exactly how the winning teams, the number 1 teams in the category have done, check out my financials, and move back to my finance page. And remember, when I'm looking at forecasting in my finance page, the first thing I should do is go to the student manual. And I still have students ask me, how do I get to the student manual? Even though every video, I go down to the bottom menu and click on student manual. It just tells me those students aren't watching the video. Okay, so year 3, these would be my expected amounts of sales if my cars were identical to everybody else's cars and there was really Nothing different between me and anybody else's vehicles. This would be the average sales. But I know that my sales are never the average sales. So I have to figure out how I want to do that. So when I'm building my car, again, now I have upped my operational cost reductions to $2,100. So I'm in year 3 like you were last round. So I'm not giving away any trade secrets here. This is just what you should have done last round to do well and set yourself up for a good 4th round, which we're moving into, which is due on Saturday. So again, as I build the car, customer expectations have gone up. So I want to make a car that is going to be better than the previous round. So I'm going to increase the amount of features here, and hopefully I can increase my profit margin. So here I went up about 4%. My goal is to go up 5%. So I'm going to have to pull back in some areas. Okay, so I'm getting a warning here. I don't want to pull back here because that's where, in fact, I probably do want to increase this. So I'm already at the lowest there. Okay, so it looks like I can't really greatly improve. So I'm going to need more operational investments moving forward because I can't really get to that extra 5 percentage points I want to get to. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next car. Let's see if I can. Okay, again, something similar here. I'm only up about, just like here, I was only up about 4 percentage points. So see if I can pull back a little bit on some of these. Don't think I can, so I'm going to have to accept that and move on to truck. And let's see how I can do here. And again, I'm only moving up a few percentage points, so I'm going to have to, okay, so there I was able to get that up. I'm going to sack it, but I'm pushing it up. However, I'm going to pull back on my forecast because now my cars are less desirable because I had to decrease the engine power. Okay. And the luxury class, let's try and move this up. All right, so again, this is, I'm not quite above where I want to be. Let's see. And again, I'm going to have to pull back a little bit on some of my characteristics to try and get, okay, so I only was able to go up about 4 percentage points. Here I did a good 4 percentage points. Okay, so I'm going to not quite hit my 5% goal of increases in my profit margins, but it just tells me I need more operational investments. So let's move into marketing. I'm going to do that separately because it takes a long time and I'll meet you back into production. But with marketing, I'm going to try to, diversify my marketing and kind of market my cars at an average level, nothing crazy. Now in production, and unfortunately here, I'm going to see, so here, I'm gonna, I could do something where I don't want to buy a production plant just to make an extra 200 cars. So I'm going to go back to sales, and I'm going to cut this down to that amount. So this way I can have a higher capacity utilization by not buying a new production plant here. And I can take that money and I can invest it in more operational cost reductions. rather than investing it in a new plant. Here I'm going to actually buy the plant because it's 400 cars we're talking about, and that's as long as I'm making 400 more cars in the new production plant, I will do that. But I'm also going to increase my operational investments here because I want to make sure that I can maintain or increase those profit margins moving forward. Looks like here I'll have to buy another production plant. So this is another year where I am investing a lot in the operations of the business. So I expect all my asset multipliers to be kind of low. And here I have to buy a production plant, but I'm getting high capacity utilization, making 3,000 cars. So I think that will help. And since my profit margins overall are higher than last round, I think I can afford these additional investments I'm making in the vehicle. So let's look at my finance page and see how I am on my overall surplus deficit. Good, so I have a pretty decent surplus. So I'm going to go ahead and maybe I will retire some funds this round, because that does help with my points. So I'll retire some funds, and I'll stay with the $39 million surplus at this time and see how do I do. So I'm going to complete year 3, and like the rest of the class in the team competition, now I'm in year 4. So how did I do it? 544 points, which is better than the 400 I was shooting for. And I was able to get my profit margins on average from 53 to 58%. So that is that 5%, the 5 percentage points I'm looking for, about a 9% increase. So because I was able to increase my revenues by 42%, I was able to improve my quick and debit ratios because I did pay down some, retire some debt, short and long term. My profit margins are up at the gross, operational, and net level. Certain points for that. Now I did expect, again, my asset turnover to be, and my total asset return to be lower, and that was expected because of the heavy investment I'm making in the company. But my earnings per share was up. My forecast was not as accurate, but pretty close. I'd rather have some unsold vehicles than miss out on selling some vehicles by under forecasting. So that's okay. So overall, I had my operational investment increase. So I got 100 points there, and I had my surplus, and it went from 39 to 30. So that's because of some unsold cars. So I did get that 544 points, which I'm pretty happy about. So if I look at my industry so far, after 3 rounds, I'm at 2,000 points, which is really good considering I'm almost 80% of the way of the total I need to get, 75 or 80% of the way of the total I need to get the full points for the simulation. So overall, that's how I would have completed round 3. It's very important, as I've said many, many times, you have to get these profit margins up every round. That's what investors are expecting. They're expecting not only higher profit margins, but higher profits and higher sales. And the only way to do that is to invest in your company and your operational investments to keep your company being able to reduce costs. This is the only way to meet those increased customer expectations. When they start pushing up their expectations, that's going to make it more expensive to meet or exceed their expectations to make that vehicle. So that's why if you don't have these cost reductions, it gets hard to make that vehicle in a way, that's going to be something that the customers are going to want. So here, I'm able to, you can see here, even with this great cost reduction, I'm still at the baseline, I'm still struggling to make higher profit margins. So that means, again, I'm going to have to invest more aggressively in these cost reductions, but at least I'm keeping on par with their increases, and I can go ahead and, some areas I can reduce the amount of, depending on the area. I don't think I can go this slow, no. And it's about as low as I can go. But here, I was able to get up 6 percentage points. So with a little tweaking, the car is still attractive. I'm still doing okay, and I'm getting that 5 percentage points. Actually, I'm a little bit higher than 5. So maybe I could put another one in here, and that would be good. So as you move forward in round 4, you want to make sure you take advantage of these operational cost reductions, and you want to be increasing your features as much as possible where you can. So that way your car is consistently better. And you're hoping to make, yes, so I am being able to get that 5% increase. So that's what you definitely want as you move forward, is to be getting these percentages, at least 5%. And so this is round 4. You should at least be at 60% in round 4, and 5 at 65%, and round 6 at least at 70% or higher on your gross profit, to keep in line with what customers expect and to do well with the simulation. Okay, so that's my video on how my hints, my continued reinforcement of how to do well in the simulation moving forward, and my review of the results for year 3. You have another year 4 coming up that's due on Saturday, so make sure you take the time to complete that, and I'll be talking to you soon. Thank you.